I just wanted to show quickly slides because I'm not sure if you heard about IRIS-Hep Analysis Grand Challenge, and to introduce you some ideas that we have behind it. So me and Alex, we are coordinating this activity in IRIS-Hep, but in fact it's a work of many people, and most of them you already know probably. What is itself how we define analysis Grand Challenge? The motivation is basically to be able to understand and test HL-LHC data sizes, data ratio, by kind of rethinking, redesigning data pipeline. So what it means, we would like to evaluate a new Python analysis ecosystem developed by IRIS-Hep and partners, as well by US LHC operations, and also try to integrate a differentiable analysis pipeline in this. The second part is actually start to prepare flexible, easy to use, low latency analysis facilities that are that will be kind of hosting analysis Grand Challenge itself, and as well afterwards or working with a physicist to use this new analysis pipeline that we prepare. So analysis Grand Challenge will be conducted during 21-23, and it actually leaves us enough time to tune software tools, services developed as a part of IRIS-Hep ecosystem, and also organize it together with US LHC programs and experiments. From the point of view, analysis Grand Challenge also helpful because it's kind of allowing us to connect different IRIS-Hep focus area. So Toma providing us data delivery services, analysis systems, we're using tools, and scalable systems laboratory, we're using deployment technique and provided resources. To explain you what is actually our analysis pipeline and which are software components, here you could see briefly all the packages and services, and as well analysis facilities that are part of it. The one of ideas, as you remember, I was mentioning that we have two directions. So how it works all together, basically, we have these tools and we try to deploy them to analysis facility itself. The one of the works that also we are doing is we are developing benchmark analysis. So here's a list of requirements that I will probably not go through, but important part is that we going to handle large data volumes, and we try to use modern data formats like NanoD or FISLight in case of Atlas CMS. And the idea is that data should be open and available to everybody. So then we could kind of easily showcase it and benchmarking any type of facility. What we, for now, we're going to use is run to CMS open data. So we have a CMS released around 400 terabytes of mini IDs, and going to release other batch of mini IDs and nano IDs. So we aiming to generic analysis and possibly modeled after some existing public analysis. And the generic nature will allow us actually to try to include all possible desired techniques and workflow aspects. For analysis facilities, as a part of development, we trying to integrate as much as possible new building blocks. So for example, we interested in testing and deploying modern authentication, tokens, C tokens. We try to test efficient data delivery and data management technologies. The goal is to use columnar analysis and of course, to have available on analysis facility support for new Pythonic ecosystem. We test and we work mostly with the modern deployment and integration techniques. The one of other parts that we are looking into is support for object storage on this analysis facility and efficient data caching solution. The important part is also easy integration with already existing HPC resources, so you don't need to do a lot from point of view that already exist in analysis facility. Here is the different components of so analysis facility that we are working. We called Coffea-casa, house for the coffee. And yeah, here is different. So this is our core components that we are using, everything based on Jupyter Hub. We're trying to support parallel processors. We're working mostly with a dask scheduler interface, and we're providing some base images. Then we also try to provide batch processing, data access, data storage through additional plugins that are available on Coffea-casa. This is how it actually looks like, for example, from schema of analysis facility, Coffea-casa at UNL. Here's a team that is working on it. And as you see here, we basically connect traditional resources like grid and cluster site resources together with Kubernetes. And from this point of view, we provide each user some, let's say, resource per user. So this pod. As well, user can easily scale, physicists in this case can scale to shared resources available. There's different options on tier 2, tier 3, or even university Condor queue. This is currently we already have some deployments. At Nebraska, we have 2. There's Atlas analysis facility at Scalable System Lab, also Coffea-casa. Fermilab, USCMS in this case, also participating in analysis challenge and helping to test Coffea-casa, as well as reusing some components at Fermilab facility. US Atlas facilities are also actively participating, and we are evaluating how we can reuse Coffea-casa experience and preparing actually for execution. I wanted also to promote a bit, we are doing a workshop, it's a second one actually, where we're going to showcase, to make a showcase of IRIS-Hep toolchain analysis pipeline on these Coffea-casa analysis facilities, and it's 2 afternoons, and it's basically a nice introduction about packages, notebooks, focusing on interfaces between tools. So if you're interested in additional tracks, let us know. Currently we have CMS and Atlas, but if there is any need to add any other discussions, we are open still. What is the timeline for Analysis Grand Challenge? So currently we do, in November, we did first demonstration of toolchain. In April, we have the second iteration of workshop. On summer, we're going to spend benchmarking all system components. And in spring 2023, we're going to actually have execution of Analysis Grand Challenge at full scale. So if you would like to participate or get news, or you're interested in project, you can contact us via this email, or just even sign up for a Google group. So there you can get updates about meetings, and yeah, I think it's all from my side. So I think we can move to discussion or questions, or Alex, do you have something to add maybe?
No, I think you captured, I think, everything quite well already. I don't know how this discussion is working. Is this something, Rob, that you or others would moderate? Should we self-moderate that section? How does it work?
Yeah, we didn't we've got no grand plan here for the grand challenge section. So yeah, I mean, I think we can, we've got 20 minutes or so, we can talk about this. I mean, I think the idea was to try to expose, sort of advertise this a little bit, raise the visibility here across our respective facilities. You mentioned, Oksana, the places where there are current deployments, Fermilab in Nebraska, for example. On the CMS side, on the US Atlas side, we've got at Chicago and starting this at BNL and Slack, where we have shared tier 3s as well, which would be a natural place to evaluate these tools. So I guess one question would be on the time scale of the April workshop, do you imagine on the CMS side adding any more facilities? For example, the Anvil facility at Purdue, maybe scaling out to Azure. Are you guys planning to do anything along those lines?
So actually we're so currently what we have is pretty we are not limited only on this kind of let's say design of analysis facility, and we opened a lot on discovering new different like backends, or if somebody interested to try for example to add additional like plugins. Let's say currently we support HTCondor scale out and Kubernetes scale out, but in case also there was interest to try to add, instead of Dask scheduler interface, to try to explore work queue, or so there is a lot of interesting possibilities here, and we will be really we would like to have as much as possible different let's say different options or some interest to contribute maybe or to test Coffea-casa. So we are really open for any type of communication. From other side, I also wanted to tell since we learning a lot not only from SSL but as well from OSG team. So from the point of view, like maybe we will need to have more possibilities to learn about better packaging or trying to, because this facility is going to be nicely packaged as a Helm charts, and then afterward we probably will need to learn more about best practices that you have in OSG for this.
Yeah.
Rob, if I can answer to your question, Stefan here from Purdue. Yeah. Yes, we are working on our own analysis facility in the same time as are all the tier 2s in the US, if I understand correctly. So yes, the answer to your question is these things will pop up in all the other tier 2s in the coming months, let's say.
I mean, so Stefan, I mean, I think this is really an interesting opportunity, right? Because you guys have this Getty's Kubernetes platform, I think that you showed in the previous presentation. And I thought that would be a natural place to sort of evaluate your analysis facility with this Coffea-casa analysis facility, and maybe there are components that mix and match together, for example, that you can maybe experiment with.
That is correct. I'm pretty sure that in the end we will all be using the same components. We are just getting there in our own ways, basically. But yeah, I think the goal is pretty much what Oksana just described. Yes.
Also, like I wanted to add that for the you don't need really to install Coffea-casa on like your facility, but for example, already helping us to benchmark different like services as a service X, for example, and trying to benchmark different different packages or parts of pipeline that we already developed, we have available notebooks, and in this case, they're based on open data, but as well, if there is, for example, any CMS analysis that would like to try Service X as a data delivery service and try to benchmark, it will be like absolutely beneficial, because we, in this case, we probably lack some help from other groups to have more deployments of Service X and other parts of all this pipeline.
Yeah, for sure. Brian's got his hand raised.
I was just going to kind of repeat what I wrote in the chat. I think the more places we can involve, whether it's through plugins like Oksana mentioned, or just additional deployments, are going to be fantastic. My only concern is that the timing. We've got a big stack of to-do items before I think we're ready for all the parts of the workshop, and just might be some of the additional sites might come out later in the year, but this would be a case where I would love nothing more than to be wrong.
Right. Yeah, it's a lot of as Brian told it, there is a lot of suggestions. So we have suggestions from users. We have a CMS analysis facility. We have actually users who are using already it for their analysis, and as well, it helps us a lot to kind of catch up to see which, I don't know, requirements we didn't think well through or we forgot. So that's why there's still a lot of things to make it like super user friendly. But our goal is basically to have something where user will not need to think about anything. So physicists will log in, and you have Jupyter Notebook, you have absolutely everything already pre-generated, like tokens, and you just need to focus on writing on code and without really having. So our goal is to make it as much user friendly as possible.
Okay, great. Guess if there are no other questions, I can still come up with a few. You mentioned the 400 terabyte open data sample from CMS. Let's say not by April, but on the timescale of this year, do you imagine being able to run through that to get a benchmark? Like how? I mean, that's even exceeds the original Grand Challenge benchmark, right? So in terms of scale.
So here's, I will go in some CMS related details. So we have 400 terabytes of mini IRDs, which means we will have, like, since we work with an NID, which is, let's say, more like flat and tuple style format that you don't need to have, I don't know, root to be able to open, which is like end user analysis in this case. So we will convert, or we will deliver columns directly from this mini ID set, because mini ID in this case you cannot really use like copy to open Coffea analysis framework. So for this case, we will have a then from 400 terabytes, like if to convert them in equivalent of nano IDs, it will be, I think we calculated 100 terabytes. But then we expect to have more data. And in case of something, we can, so we plan actually to reach 200 terabytes for the final analysis challenge benchmark. But here I just wanted to mention that 400 terabytes in this phrase doesn't mean that it's actually, it's something that will be tested. We will need to do or conversion step, or there is ongoing work on the Service X to get support of mini-OD transformer. So we can easily just use Service X to basically deliver columns directly to the physicist analysis notebook to be.
Okay. One other challenge that comes up that I've heard is, the particular distribution of Kubernetes that you're using. So at the labs, they prefer to use OKD, for example.
Oh yeah, this is a good question. So yeah, we don't use OKD, but let's say we hope that our partners from US operations, so US CMS and US Atlas, we will be testing on OKD and getting we'll get a early feedback. So basically, it would be helpful then that we all have slightly different setups, and it will allow us to cover all possible different, let's say, Kubernetes distributions and etc.
Yeah, so we really will be relying on the help of people who have these other distributions to work out some of the issues that'll undoubtedly come up there. So Brian, again.
Yeah, just to chime in on that, I think this is going to be one of the challenges to figure out in the Kubernetes world. It's not just OKD and more sane security defaults than plain old Kubernetes, but also kind of what are the cluster services or that are needed. For example, here we heavily leverage in some earlier versions of Coffea-casa DNS integration. Now we were able to get rid of that, but maybe it's not DNS, maybe it's certificate management, maybe it's question mark. There's a lot of cluster level add-ons and services and functionality that I think kind of through Brownian motion we've all found are really useful on a Kubernetes based facility, but I'm not sure we all found the same solution to the same problems, and certainly beyond the pathfinders, the whole point of pathfinders is not everybody has to do the exact same pathfinding that comes afterward.
Head east on La Jolla Village Drive toward.
Just a quick comment that we're at about the end of this.
Yeah, I just maybe one. Yeah, does anybody else have any other comments or questions then as we're wrapping up here? Any interest in joining this effort by any of the tier 2s out there? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, hi, this is Maria from FormLab. I was just going to mention that, we've been, on our elastic analysis facility, we've been running an OKD, started an OKD 3 or now an OKD 4. So there's a good chunk of experience that we have. So if anyone, is interested or need anything around, putting this analysis facilities into OKD, just let us know. We're happy to help.